Hello, everyone. In chapter 1, we have learned different ways to classify the cost so that we can apply them in various reporting and decision-making processes. In chapter 2, we'll continue to introduce how cost is determined for products made in a job order costing system. For example, how much cost for each aircraft made by Boeing to different airline customers, or how much cost for the tax filing service charged by the accounting firm. As we have learned from chapter 1, the different cost classifications, we know the product cost or manufacture cost include 3 important parts: direct material, direct labor, and indirect manufacture overhead. But how these costs are actually be traced and determined in the job order costing system, we need further learning and discussions. And the way you track and trace the cost depending on which type of costing system adopted by a company. We majorly have 2 types of costing systems: job order costing and process costing. In chapter 2 and chapter 3, we'll majorly discuss the job order costing system, and in chapter 5, we'll move on to the process costing system. So, what is a job order costing system? You have seen multiple examples about job order costing system around in the business setting. In job order costing system, the companies normally make different products or provide different service in each accounting period. So the products or service are manufactured to orders. These orders can be from external customers or generated from an internal production order. So the production of service is organized and managed by the different orders. We all tracked by the different orders, such as the aircraft or the cruise ship made by the company. So each aircraft or each cruise ship, we know they are very expensive item, and each one is a customer order. We'll track their direct material, direct labor, and allocated overhead, so we can determine after we finish the aircraft or the cruise ship how much cost the company incurred, and then you can use the cost as a base to charge the customers. So the unique nature of each different order requires in the job order costing, the accounting system and decision making will be centered on tracing or allocating the cost to each job and maintaining cost records for each job. But be careful, for each job, you can only have 1 unit of the products, such as only 1 aircraft. Or it can be a bunch of the products, such as 1,000 different 1,000 units of the such like a style type of jeans or clothing made by a clothing factory company, right? So the job can include only 1 unit or 2 units or multiple units, but for the entire job, they share the same features like requirement of the material, labor, and allocated overhead. So in a word, to summarize the job order costing system, use the cost object we introduced in chapter 1. So in job order costing system, we track the cost, or like the cost object belongs to each job order. So each job, all of the job orders become the cost objects. You may have 10 different jobs in the same time, or 100 different jobs, but each job will be a cost object. We want to trace and determine very clearly how much cost incurred for each job. And lots of examples around. I just list a few from here. You also can read this information from the ebook. Typically, we have the aircraft making, right? So we only have two major aircraft makers around the world, Boeing, and we have learned from this year lots of quality problem and management problems incurred by Boeing, and I think they recently got a fine or penalty from the governments because of some disclosure issues. So it's a very critical year for Boeing. So whether the company can survive from all of the kind of the scandals and all of these management issues. Okay, so we are still looking for that. And then construction industry, okay, construction, real estate, or really the large scale construction companies, they manage by project, right? So each project is a order and is a cost object. So they track the home they build or the projects they build for the other companies. Customize the printing industries, okay, name cards and some other customized printing industries. Each customer order, okay, they may have 100 copies or customized name orders for TSU or from other customers. Then clothing industry, I'm not really talking about the general, like cheap clothing. For brand clothing industry, they normally use job order because each style, they probably only produce a certain number of the units, right? So each year seasonal, they probably won't reproduce this type of style unless it's a classical item for the industry, right? So like iconic or classical, they may reproduce each year, but most of the seasonal and the stylish is only like 1,000 jackets and the color or the design, and then it's gone. So each bunch of the clothing will be a product order, right? So for 1,000, you see the total material, labor, and overhead. Then we can divide the total cost for the job by the units, find out how much it costs per jacket, or per jeans. Finally, have you realized all companies in the service industry, they all belongs to the job order costing category. All service industries, consulting, travel agents, airline industries, American, United, Delta, you probably haven't thought about it. They are service companies. Their job order, you can think about it can be their different routes, right? So international routes, domestic routes, and then from like this round trip from Houston to LA or to New York. So the airline will manage, okay, they try to compare the profitability, like the cost and the revenue they earned from their major routes, then determine the profitability of each route, then make an arrangement. Should we increase the number of the flights, or should we decrease the number of flights because low profit, or discontinue it at all? Okay, so completely. And car shops, right? So when you put your car in a service, body shop or mechanic service, each vehicle order is a job for the car shop. So they manage by, when you got the bill from the car dealer or the car shop, you can see the material cost, labor cost, and some related cost, or like this allocated. You may not realize they are allocating their overhead, but probably their labor rate or material they already take consideration for their utilities or depreciations. Okay, so that's the service industries. So job order costing system is very popular around, and you maybe actually can manage your own I don't know, like your your routines, right? That your schoolwork, your like your job, right? So your paid job, and you have projects, like especially like a project is really like the job. But we are not really earning revenue or like seeking for profit, right? But you can manage your life, okay, by project, by the job order perspective. So now let's get on to how we actually track the different parts of the cost in the job order costing system. First, the direct material and the direct labor cost. For example, okay, I add the, for example, I'm like the Boeing, the aircraft makers. So in the same time, I'm making 3 different aircraft. Okay, I have 3 customers, the United, American, and the Delta. Each of them order a different type or different model of the aircraft, but even they can be the same, it's customized, right? So the aircraft is always customized, like the seats, number of the seats, the different tiers of the seats, and the maybe the fabric or leather, or some like customized, okay, like the paint. So if you have 3 orders in the same time, okay, so I'm working on 3 aircraft orders in the same time. So imagine if you are the cost manager, you will be relatively easy to track the direct material and the direct labor directly to each of the job order, because when you acquire material or spend labor on the jobs, you can use the paperwork. So there are paperwork help you track the direct material and the direct labor cost. So it's just the amount of time and your cost accounting system. But with the help of computer and the system, it's very easy after the factory get material from the warehouse or when the labor spend the time. So we'll track all of the cost down to each of the jobs. Whether it can be a manual or can be computerized, we will keep a job order, like job cost sheet, or is the paper, is the summary, cost summary for each job, or each job. This is only a sample. For each company, they may use different formats, but they should share some similar information. And these days, I believe almost these cost sheets is like a Excel worksheets is stored in your computer or in your company's system. Okay, it's not really paper anymore, but you can print it out anytime. But the data is stored, is traced and stored in your computer system. So in the job cost sheets, we'll track all of the direct material. It may not be one material, okay, it can be like second, third. How many material directly input, and then direct labor based upon the working hours. And they will become accounting information as well, right? So after we learn, when you input the material, we increase the working in process and decrease the raw material. Debit working in process and credit the raw material. We talk about this briefly in the intro case. And then we'll incur labor cost. We also increase the working in process for this job. So we debit the working in process and credit salary payable or wage payable. If you already paid the cash, it should be a credit for cash. But anyway, so direct material and direct labor can be directly traced to each job. And the manufacturer overhead, we'll put the discussion a little bit later, because manufacturer overhead is indirect cost. It's happened not only for one single job order, it's happened for all of the orders in the same time, like all of the 3 aircraft making. So when you incurred a utility cost, or the supervisor's salary, we don't really know how much we should put for each of the job, right? So you may say, oh, an easy way, just to average them, right? So divided by the 3 of the jobs, that can be a solution. But what you can imagine, the result won't be very accurate because the consumption of each order may be different for the utilities. One job almost done and another job just started. So their consumption of the manufacture overhead may vary significantly. Oh, so average, you can do it, but the result is not accurate. We'll introduce some more reasonable or more scientific and accurate approach later for overhead allocations, but let's focus on the material and labor first. So you track the material and labor in the job order, job cost sheets. And the paperwork for material application or material acquisition in most companies they call material requisition firm. It's not something don't really memorize, okay, but relate. The accounting evidence or the documentation tells you how much the material is used and which job. Okay, so how much material used for each job. You need to check the material requisition. This is the original paperwork you should store in your system to support the usage of the raw materials. For example, this job in this firm, we used $660 of raw materials, okay, for this job, charged to this job. So material requisition firm and is numbered continuously. So, is a source document. And then for labor cost, is combined with your HR function. We use the time ticket. So you must identify these personnels and their position, the job position, right? So is a factory worker, is a marketing personnel or accounting staff. So by the employee name and their job position and or the time tickets or they spend, because each person may spend a different time on different jobs. So Mary may spend this amount of time for this job and she may work on another job for other periods. So you must track the time tickets very careful so the direct labor cost will be accurate. So that's like we learned the direct material, the direct labor. The name, why they call direct, means they can directly associate it with the different job or different products. And in the next video, we'll introduce how we track and allocate the overhead cost.